Welcome back to Afloat in a Wooden Boat. We have the most magical, amazing trip for you today. Over the Easter long weekend, we went from Sydney to Hobart, dinghy cruising. Can you believe it? This is a story of so much magic and so many new friendships. It's really just hard to convey to you with pictures and words what it was like to go up and meet all of these wonderful people. So the kids Afloat and I, we hopped on a plane and we went up to Sydney to check out the Port Hacking Open Sailing Club's amazing racing heron fleet, and also to meet all of our new friends at Raid Sydney, who we've been chatting to over the last, I suppose probably 18 months, to get to know them a little bit better and make some real in-person Dinghy Cruising Sydney to Hobart connections. The idea of this Sydney to Hobart trip was first floated by our mentor and heron extraordinaire Anthony Morgan as a way for Luca to learn more about modern herons in his bid to make Waiwiri, the classic wooden racing heron, into something that could be competitive again. So Anthony jumped in his car and drove all the way to Sydney, but we met him there by plane. He introduced us to the extraordinary people at the Port Hacking Open Sailing Club, in particular to our lovely host Paul Armstrong. And how could we go to Sydney without meeting Josh from Dinghy Cruising Kingfisher and our friends from Raid Sydney? Raid Sydney are a group of dinghy cruising enthusiasts, and you might have seen some of their videos on YouTube. Between Sailing Kate Louise and Dinghy Cruising Kingfisher, it's well worth a watch. Sydney is such a beautiful city, and the harbour is at its absolute heart. Everything from Sydney ferries right through to the Sydney to Hobart race, I'm sure that you have seen and heard of Sydney's natural beauty. And I've been there before, but the kids Afloat haven't, so it was wonderful for them to see such live maritime history brought to life in Sydney. Naturally, the first thing they wanted to do was head towards the Sydney Maritime Museum. It's a huge national museum situated on Darling Harbour right in the city centre, with all sorts of living museum boats that you can crawl through, including this one, a replica of the 1606 boat that first brought a European out to Australia. And we nearly lost JD on the HMAS Vampire. He disappeared so quickly into that museum ship you wouldn't believe it. Of course, there were lots of other great things to see in Sydney, like bin chickens and bush turkeys. But this little guy here, he was so excited because he knew that tomorrow he would get to go and see racing herons of national pedigree. Our first stop was to visit a heron that's halfway through construction. This one is a racing heron that's built by a stitch and glue method. It's quite amazing to hear people who have built many herons before and raced for years talk about the different hull shapes. It didn't help us very much though when one of the puppies stole the plans. But soon after the hilarity settled down, Anthony arrived all the way from Tassie by car to talk shop. We learnt so much about hull shapes and construction methods, and it gave us so much to think about with what we're doing with the heron of extraordinary potential and also Luca's Waiwiri. Next stop was Paul's house. Paul lives on Port Hacking, so we were able to make a spectacular arrival to the sailing club by boat. The excitement built for Jean the closer we got, because he knew that waiting at the Port Hacking Sailing Club would be his favourite dinghy in the entire world, the Blue Heron Kingfisher.
When I think I want to be with you both day and night.
And as soon as we got there she was, Kingfisher and all of her raid sailing crew in their full glory. You going to climb over? You have to go over Jenny B and into Kingfisher.
How come down here there's a lot of difference than floating?
Oh, you're in Kingfisher. Can you figure out where everyone sleeps when they sleep on board Kingfisher?
Yeah, underneath here and stuff.
I don't know.
I brought the sleeping board, I can show you.
How cool
Hang
is
on,
it?
I know. Yeah, you put the sleeping boards over the dwarf and this and then you sleep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just letting you know, I'm complete boat nerd, so don't be surprised if you learn something new from me today.
Oh, you cheeky little boy. So,
I'm listening. What do you got?
Much.
as the day rolled on and we learnt more and more about racing herons, Robin, one of the founders of Raid, arrived with his beautiful boat. I also got to meet Finn and her lovely girls, a sailing family that I've been really excited to meet for a long time. I had no idea she was coming and it was just so delightful to meet her. Paul and Anthony gave us a lesson in the controls for O for Awesome and pointed out all of her features that make her a national champion. And then gave us a surprise. We were allowed to sail her. Even though Jean had rigged an Optimus ready to sail, I had to go and find him, and I discovered that he'd been hanging out down in Kingfisher, having a little lie down and sharing some lunch with the forward hand and Josh.
Cup holders on the centerboard case.
And we actually,
I think I might be thrown out of the Heron Association if I did that.
I don't, unless it's a regulation one.
No. Regulation cup holders.
No.
There's such a thing as swearing for the sake of it, and such a thing as contextual swearing.
Yes, like when your motor stops.
Yes, I know. Well, you don't drop it on your head, you just smack yourself in the face with it. So how's the life jacket fit?
I think this describes it. You can see that.
So after we finally found a life jacket that fit, we set off. I can't really describe to you what this felt like. It was so warm. The sun was sparkling on the water and the wind was light in the sails. And it was such a moment of pure joy because I was sailing with my friends.
It is!
Whilst we were sailing around, Paul and Anthony circled us in the rescue boat, having a look to see what all of the different features of O for Awesome were doing while we were sailing. Was the mast bending? Was Luca steering appropriately? And frankly, was I trimming the sails okay? You know what? I actually don't even know. It was just so much fun, and we managed to keep up with everybody. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and Josh and the forward hand had to head off in Kingfisher, whilst we kept sailing with the raid crew for a little while longer, until they too finally disappeared into the distance back to Swallow Rock.
You know what I think about Sydney?
Wow.
Amazing. But do you know what else I think about Sydney?
Holy look at that house.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think about Sydney. Quite a lot. Do you know what else though?
What?
Holy cow, look at those car boats.
Oh yeah.
There are so many.
I'm still fixed on that house. That looks like a miniature Colosseum.
It does look like a Colosseum. Do you reckon that those people might have had Roman heritage?
I don't know. It looks really cool though.
Amazing. I can't believe we got to meet all the raiders. Aren't they just delightful?
With their battle axes and spears and shields because they're
Yeah,
raiders.
not as much raiding and pillaging as I was expecting.
I was expecting we would have claimed at least 3 of these houses by now.
Oh well, there's plenty to rob.
It's horrible.
Do you reckon that the raiders are really good at vanishing?
Yeah, they vanished off into the midnight fog even though it's the middle of the day.
Typical Vikings, hey?
Yeah.
Typical Vikings.
And finally, it was our turn to head back ashore and pack down the beautiful O for Awesome. You can see why she's a champion when you sail her. And bid adieu to the Port Hacking Open Sailing Club. I can only hope that one day we can come back. At this time, our exceptionally generous host turned the bow and gave us a fantastic tour of Port Hacking. Really, what a beautiful place. I absolutely loved it. And Luca, well, I think his heart and his head were completely full of Heron stuff, but he and Max sat up on the bow for the entire tour and soaked in the sunshine. When we watch the videos from Raid Sydney of these beautiful places, we sometimes miss how stunning they actually are in real life. Well, I'm here to tell you that they are just better than anything a picture can convey. I highly recommend that you take a trip to Sydney. So as the sun set on that glorious day, We eventually headed back into Sydney City to our accommodation. Little did we know though that there was one more beautiful cruising surprise in store for us before we had to head back to Hobart. We made such a great connection with the children that were there at our special day down at Port Hacking. The forward hand from Kingfisher is such an intelligent, bright young lady, and it really was a lovely thing to make her acquaintance. And they gave us a lovely treat. We were able to have brunch with Josh and the forward hand and head down to Sydney's waterfront to see something really special. Sydney's cruise ships have been gone during the pandemic, but we got to see the very first one come back amidst a spectacular harbour, chockers full of boats, tugboats, water cannons, and you name it. It was really magic.
Celebration. That's how they do it. They use water cannons to celebrate, to make a pretty display.
They call that the sprinkler. They're doing the gardens.
Welcome home on the back of it. Oh, that's awesome.
Where?
On the back of the tugboats, there's welcome home.
Oh,
All
so
the front
that's
of the tugboats.
We stood at the bottom of the harbour bridge with these exceptional young people, looking at big cruising and thinking about little cruising, and realising that little open boats are the great leveller for us all. We're so lucky to have been here, and as we boarded the plane with our heads full of little dinghies bobbing around on sparkly water, we realised just how lucky we are. We hope to see you again next time. We're starting to ramp up for the Australian Wooden Boat Festival, so we've got some exciting news coming on that front. See you soon.